Hey there. So, if you're here, you're, I feel, one of three people. Either you know what's going on and you've been awaiting a response, which, in my mind, like, kudos to you for waiting. I seen far too many people not give this chance straight away, which is saddening to hear because it's just one side right now. Or you're someone else who has no idea what's going on and you're about to get caught up real fast. Or three, you're one of the people who left indefinitely but, has curiously seen this and came back, which, again, a respectable thing. But for those who don't know, a few days ago there was this like a 40-minute expose about some creepypasta narrators, myself included, about grooming this young girl, and this was like set many years ago. And this is gonna be me basically debunking what was shown and what was said. So, the video in question is very much structured like this. It shows like a few screenshots of like private conversations of like just really doughy conversation, and then very much unedited, very unfiltered of just anecdotal stories about things that happened, things that were said, things that were did, and it's going to be weird to try dissect this because a lot of it is based on word of mouth, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But I feel like the biggest part to debunk would be the messages and then the screenshots of this and that. And quite interestingly, while I was filming this, I also got a DM from another narrator, which again I'm going to try to keep names out of this, but they were interesting. They said they mentioned that they were like, I'm going to dig it up. It's actually quite interesting. They said, we don't know each other well, but he's encountered people, like he says he's encountered plenty of folk who do this kind of thing, and there's nothing about me that screams that I've done it. But he also had an interesting observation where is it, having said that, like he says he's good at reading particular tells, and from watching the video of the girl, that she's also not lying, which again adds to this idea that there is potentially a third party involved. Because again, that's what I want to believe. I don't want to believe that this was a malicious setup event. This is what I want to believe. And this is interesting that this is a perspective of someone who I've barely spoken to, but this is his impressions of us. And first impressions are always, they say the first impression is as good as knowing someone for 6 months. And that really stuck out to me. It's really interesting. And like, he even mentioned that he tweeted about it, but he's took it down because it was very much on her side, but now he wants to see both sides. And I fully get it as well. I fully get like the hate I'm getting, because what I'm being accused of is egregious, and for anyone actually caught out for doing something like this, I condemn it. Like, I 100% condemn it, because something I've mentioned is I've been in relationships since 2012 up until 2019, early 2020, when I just had my breakup at the start of this year. Good old quarantine. But, I've been in relationships except for 1 year off, which was 2016 to 17, which again outdates all this. One thing I've dealt with is previous partners of mine, multiple partners, have been victims. Seeing this firsthand, seeing the effects of it firsthand. I've seen PTSD, like literal PTSD, where there are triggers, there are like almost seizures, and I've had to live with this through them. And again, I'm not saying I'm not going to be that guy that's like, oh, I know the pain. Like, I only know it from like an arm's length, and even that hurt me. Seeing the effects of what's being accused does to people, and I've seen it, multiple times with friends as well. I know so many people. It's more common than you think. It's disgusting, and knowing the effect it has on people and seeing it and living with it through someone else, it's like I would never have the capacity to put this on someone else. That's a hard statement I want to make. I'm not, like that new MAP movement that's coming out. I'm not pro that. That is disgusting. This is the most aggressive. In fact, this is where I can get aggressive because again, as much as I want to aggressively defend myself, I'm restraining myself because I want to be nice, but I will aggressively say no to anything that's abusive, to grooming, to I don't even want to say it. Like I don't want to say it. It's disgusting. It's actually disgusting, and I will gladly put my name on condemning any of those actions. I have to zoom in. So some of these messages are very, very interestingly written on my behalf. The notable things that really point out in my head is the capital letters at the start, and also the weird use of punctuation. So it's like this one here says, "Where are you?" Exclamation mark, question mark, exclamation mark, question mark, exclamation mark, crying face. Which we'll keep that aside for now. We'll remember that. What's this one? Capital letter, wait. Capital letter, this means ... Capital letter, you're back in the market, in brackets think. A capital letter, damn it, this isn't Skype XD. Again, just remember that for now. Just remember that for now. But there's a few discrepancies that really stand out for me. And it's mentioned twice. It's where I say, I have to breathe for this one, it's where I say, I love you. Ooh. So, something about me, and something my exes can attest to, I have had an aversion to that word almost my whole life. Like, I adore my friends, I adore my family, and I cherish my loved ones. But I have never told them explicitly the I L U. I've only said it once or twice to a few people. But imagine this. I've never moved out my small town. I've lived with my parents for a long time. And when I moved, it was 4 doors down. And when I moved again, it was 2 minutes down the road. I have lived close to them. I adore them. I look after them. They're my world. And I don't think I've ever said it to them. I don't know what that is. Call it intimacy issues. But that really stands out to me that in these DMs, I'm just throwing it out there. I am just throwing it out there. Really cheesily too. Like this one's got exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, ampersand, colon, ampersand, colon, at, bracket, ampersand, exclamation mark, 0. But again, that punctuation is going to fall more into my typing style, which we're going to pull up soon. The only other thing to really point out, because there aren't too many DMs really, like again, it's and the DMs is really just like, oh no, pet's head in asterisk. I didn't even realize that one was there. Cringe asterisks is no. I've never unironically, no, we're not doing that. So there is one message that really stands out to me. The start of my message is this: I was at work. Now let me tell you something about myself. I've only ever had one job where I left the house. Every other job I've had, I've worked at home. I've only ever had one job where I left the house, and that was Blockbusters. And it's become such a... We all know what happened to Blockbusters, okay? And the fact that I said I was out for work is really one of the biggest tells for me, because I was at work when I was in college, but I was in college, like, I started doing YouTube after college. So, where did that come from? And that's where one of the suspicious things comes out to me, because I have mentioned before that I do work. I have said on streams and in a few avenues where I talk about how to be consistent on YouTube, where I talk about how, for me, the healthiest mentality to have is do YouTube on the side. I've always considered myself, I have a job outside of YouTube, and if YouTube collapses now, I'm fine. Honestly, I'm fine, and that's where some of my relaxation comes from all this. If someone Thanos snaps my channel away, I still got my business that I've been doing for several years now. YouTube is something I say I do on the side, but this business I talk about, I do from home. I've never left the house to do business. It's another work from home thing. And to me, I've always kept YouTube as a hobby to keep myself sane, because we all know the phrase like all work and no play, whatever that phrase is. It's it's suspicious that they managed to slip that detail in there from something that was anecdotally in the open. So that's one of the red flags that I've seen. But let's talk more about the grammar. So the grammar is almost immaculate in a way. There's a lot of punctuation and capital letters at the start of almost every sentence, and that's impressive because I really don't do that. I've pulled out a few DMs I've had in like other Facebook messages, because another thing is I've tried finding these messages, and it only took like 3 scrolls to get to 2012, because my gosh, have I not used Facebook like ever. I used to use it a lot as a kid, but as soon as I was in college I really cut down using it. So the fact is I only scrolled down, and even then the only messages I was scrolling past were like group chats I get put in because my family are just weird. But there's like one message here from 2011, where I'm talking. Oh god, the grammar's terrible. Have you ever cut a hole in the middle of some bread and cracked an egg in the middle of it? So run-on sentence. It's nice. It's like bread, but with an egg in the middle. I made a sandwich. No capital letters. It's just a mess of words. Here's another one from 2011. This is me talking about video games, I think, with an old friend. You won't have to spend monet on fuel, just food. Now you're thinking. I cut out his side, obviously, because these are. I know what he said. Which one are you getting? COD or BF? Like, no capital letters, no COD, like capital C and D. That's the problem, is paying for them all. I am terrible. I will say, I should have failed English so many times. I've always been terrible at it, and I've only learned when, like, years of starting Creepypasta. Like, I used to have to send my stories off to be edited by people because I just write the mess and it'll be disgusting. I would hate to have been the person that had to clean through it, and I'd send it to them and they'd fix it, because I'm borderline dyslexic. You're hearing the stammer too. You should, like, that's one of my little secrets as well. I think I've had a stammer my whole life because it's not just a stammer, but I struggle to read. When I'm reading narration, you should see, like, sometimes a 40-minute raw recording will be a 20-minute video because it's all mistakes. Like, I'm pretty sure, in my head at least, that covers the messages, the bulk of the messages. Because again, let's look through them. Oh yeah, hugs in asterisks is like, who? No, this is why, again, like, people who look at it from the outside are like, wow, these are DMs to a young girl. This is horrible. But people who are close to me and know me, know me in person, looked at it and were like, are they serious? And that's what makes this so hard, is that for anyone outside of my initial small group, it's obviously like you have to take the victim side. Even I want to take a victim side whenever something happens, but looking at this, it's horrible for me and my loved ones to see, because it's like, no, you know. And let's see if I can find anything else before we move on. I might even add some post commentary if I miss something, or I might even add post commentary, because there's something else I've been doing to try catch something like this out, and I learned it very early on. In fact, I'll talk about that now. So, back in the day, there was this other controversy, very almost similar to this, but when everyone was small. Like, you have to imagine, like, this is based as well back when there was only one big narrator, and it's someone not mentioned in all this. But this person was caught in a controversy where they were grooming a child on Kick, and then the victim comes to all the narrators like, this narrator, this and that, and then everyone turned against him. And I spoke to him. I was like, what's going on? And he's like, Kick you can only have on a smartphone. I don't have a smartphone. And I'm like, okay, that's fair enough. And then I looked at the messages, and they would look like they were written by a child. Like, I had to send screenshots of our previous conversation, very similar to this, very screenshots of our previous conversation, and you put it next to it, and I had to be the one to defend and be like, yeah, no, this ain't him. And eventually it did blow over, but let's look at that. Let's look at that scenario real quick, because we do have a real victim. That's the sad part about that. You do have a real victim, but then the person impersonating doesn't get caught because, of course, like anyone can assume an identity. But the person who was framed is also, like, in some ways a victim in a different way, and it's such a hard scenario to sort through because it's not an aggressor and a prey. It's it's a mishmash. It becomes, it becomes almost a plot line of a story of just misnomers. I don't know if that's the right word. Like conspiratorial. Who did it? How do we find them? But someone's to blame because there's a victim. But that's also something I'm feeling now. But we'll get into that because something I've been doing is I purposely mistype words. And people point it out to me. They always make fun of me because my typing is terrible. And I can pull up like Discord DMs. Like a common one I do is when I say in the, I go int he. That's actually a common one I do. And when I do words that ends in ing, I flip the n and g. And sometimes I'll just mishmash letters of a word to make it look like it was just typoed wrong. And I've been doing that a lot. And I've been doing that for years. Like, for some reason, it was just like, especially since that incident, I was like, well, what if this happens to me? I'm curious. And this is the one time where I might have to pull up some screenshots, maybe post commentary, but we can go through some beautifully written messages of mine and how awful they look and how they look completely different to the good grammar but cringe asterisk way these messages are written. And that, to me, solidifies in my head how off these messages are. The only time I spell right is when I'm on my smartphone. I did eventually get a smartphone. I got it very late in life, which is why I'm still like, I'm very boomer technology, haha. The first phone I got was the Galaxy Note 4, the one with the little pen, and I used to play that little scribbling game. What's it called? Draw Something, I think it was. I used to play Draw Something with it. I used to cheat. I used the little pen. That phone came out in 2014, and these messages were apparently before that. So the fact that they were spelled like they're on a smartphone, but I didn't have a smartphone then. I was using. In fact, I still have it. I still had a little clicky keyboard, like clickety clack, little baby phone from like since I was a kid. Because in my mentality, I was like, I don't need a smartphone. I just need to call and text. For some reason I was very averted to technology. I'm glad I've gotten over that, but I think that's also came in very handy here. But yeah, one of the reasons I'm not worried for my personal sake is that the people I care about most are my close friends and my family. And when I have a significant other, a significant other. But, it just took one look for people I know personally and who know me personally to look at it and go, no. And just, they're the opinions I care about. And it's not bias either. They've pointed out discrepancies like the going to work. When I make fun of people who go to work, like a jokingly, of course, like when my friends go to work, I'm like, imagine going to work. It's a running joke because I work from home. Me and my friend do it. I have a friend who works from home. He does the same thing. And then when he does have to leave to go to an office, I make fun of him. Like it's a running joke. So the fact that that was in one of the DMs specifically was just one of the biggest, like, what moments for me and for everyone who knows me. The way it talks, like everything about it is just sus. And like I said, I keep reiterating, who knows if it is a Creepypasta that's impersonating me, but the one thing I can wholeheartedly say is it's not me. It's using my image, it's using my name, it's using everything about me, but it's not me. Another weird one. Hang on. There was another weird one. Apparently, she claimed credit for me uploading gameplay on the second channel. Now, this is something you can actually check. If you go on Social Blade, you can see my channel was made March 6th, 2012. The gameplay channel, get this, was made March either 5th or 7th. I know it was like a day off. 2011. I think I've told this on stream before, but this is a fun confession. Creepypasta wasn't my first avenue into YouTube. The second channel was technically my first channel, and it was, get this, a Call of Duty montage channel. All the videos are gone now. They're all unlisted. I mean, I can easily post one again, or like at least show a screenshot of that existed in a time period. But the fact that they claim credit for the gameplay channel or something is also a red flag to me, because that actually predated it, and that was something I wanted to keep up after starting the now main channel, like the narration channel. So again, we got like, that's one I can actually show. I'm happy about that. I can actually show something for that. Oh yeah, apparently, yeah. So here's another one. Apparently, I played Minecraft with them, and I made like a mural of them. I spent like hours on it apparently, but like I mentioned before, I never got my name on Minecraft, so who knows if who that was. The earliest email I can find, like the earliest Mojang email I can find on the email I used for my first ever, my only Minecraft account, is from 2014, which I think is a bit late. I do feel like I had the account before, but the only server I can ever remember playing on that far back it was with some narrators, but it was a closed one. Like, I feel like I knew everyone there because it had my now ex, a few narrators which are still around today, which are not involved in any of this, and then like a few of their personal friends, and that was it. I don't, and there was no creative mode in it. I think there was no creative mode because I had to make my damn mansion myself. It was bloody hard. I had to make a nice, beautiful mansion, which my friend blew up. I was sad about that, but there was no way to make any kind of hours-long mural without creative mode, and you know the fact that I can't remember them and I remember who was on the server, I don't think that was the place. So that's that's a bit beyond me. Oh, apparently I sent money on PayPal. And I tried looking. Again, this is another thing where they've set the date so far back that it's very hard to backtrack to, because on PayPal I tried going as far back as possible. So I was spam clicking all the months, and the furthest I could go was August 2017, which is 3 years ago. So again, it comes down to word of mouth, because they never showed any screenshots of me sending payment. They've only said it, but all I can say is like, I didn't send people payments like back in the day as well. Like, I remember I'd make $60 in a month in like after the first year. Like, I didn't have money to send. I didn't have a job. I was living with my parents. Like, God no. There's no way. There was no way. Definitely not then. Definitely not the 2012s, the 2013s, or even 2014s, because like I was I was I don't even know what I was doing then. I think I was trying to save up to move out, and that was like the biggest thing. And I'm very good at saving because I don't waste money and I don't give away money willy-nilly. So that was a weird one. Something to mention too is, I talk about how notoriously hard I am to get a hold of, but if I could talk on behalf of the other person mentioned in the video, Junior, if I'm hard to get a hold of, he is by far one of the hardest people to get a hold of. So the fact that they've had a full conversation with him is what is another off thing to me. I think we, like me and him especially, have always been particularly easy victims to choose for this kind of shenanigans, because we're some of the least vocal. Like you said, we're hard to get a hold of, so nobody knows what we're like. It's a bit like tying back to when I said my friends looked at the video and go, well, that's not him. Easy, just out their mind, like straight away. You know, they know whatever's happening is not me. It's harder for other people to do because you don't know me like they do. You don't know what the way I talk, the way I type, the way I am with women, because like I mentioned before, I've been in monogamous relationships, and I'm a serial monogamist. Like, I don't ever break out of the mold of being with a significant other. I just don't have it in me to be promiscuous, to be out there. And like, I again goes back to how I don't have the energy for half the stuff that's been mentioned. Another thing to mention of Junior, if I had to talk on my a test of his character, because I'm one of the few people who has spoken to him on a close level, one of the few people remaining in the community who has been close to him, is that he always gets typecasted as really dark and weird. But has any of you guys seen his Twitter? He runs the most positive Twitter out of everyone in the horror community. He's so uplifting. And I feel like it's his voice. He's got that Tim Curry vibe of just, like I always hear that story of Batman the Animated Series where they got Mark Hamill to play the Joker, but before he was Tim Curry. But he was too scary. He was too scary. And it reminds me of that. Like, he's got such a dark voice that people think, I bet he's a dark person. And so if someone were to take his identity and then act as him and try to make a character of him, of course you go down some weird, dark, twisted route. But again, I don't want to talk on someone's behalf, but that's my attest to what I know of him is the safest way to put it. But like I said, there's still the possibility that, again, this adds to the idea that maybe there's these people using not just my identity, but also his. And that's also like a sad, terrifying thought for I presume both of. Again, I'm not going to talk his behalf, but I presume it's like that's a terrifying thought. That's something no one wants to go through. Yeah, another one was Instagram. So Instagram, someone had my name, and this is actually I remember making a video on this. Actually, there's a video on the side channel of me explaining this where I was trying to sign up to Instagram, and again, I do these very late. It's my fault really for losing some of these usernames because I just waited too long. But I tried picking my name, and my email was used. I'm like, well, I've never signed up to Instagram using my main email. So then I signed into it. I changed the password, signed into it, and I managed to get my name back because they signed up to my username using my email. But then as I was cleaning through it, again, they were impersonating me, and I go through the DMs, and guess what? They were impersonating me there. Like, they had my name, they were using my image, and this is the side of YouTube that not I feel like people do talk about, but is not known as bad as it actually is. Especially when especially for faceless YouTubers. It happens a lot to faceless YouTubers. It's much easier to do. And even now, like, it's still, like, once you just know enough details, you can make any account. You can make any account and make it look like someone. You can take their images, and it's happened to me a number of times before, and I wouldn't be surprised if this applies here. And again, like I said, the annoying thing about all this is it's going to turn into a he said, she said. But I can only put out what I've experienced and what I know. And I know that, messages aren't mine. I didn't do any of those things. And it's very easy to impersonate YouTubers. They're the sad three realities that may be the culmination of what's happening here. Because that's something to talk about is there's a chance that, like the previous incident, that this is a victim of someone, of a Creepypasta. And that's something I really want to be sensitive to. And that's why, like, I will say now, and I want to repeat this a number of times, don't go after them. Don't go, please. They probably stayed anonymous for a reason because they don't want to become after. They're probably very sensitive about this. And I don't want that on me to then harass someone who is potentially a victim. I don't want a coin flip. I don't want to flip the coin on this. This is the frustration I was talking about when I've consulted a few YouTubers, because this isn't the first time this has happened to a YouTuber as well, because this happens a lot where something comes out, everyone has a knee-jerk reaction, some people wait for a response, and some people are like stands and will defend you. Because I've seen all three already. I've seen some people calling me the most disgusting things in the world, rancid. I've seen some people going, okay, I need to be distant from you, but I'm willing to wait and see what you put out. And then there's ones where it's like, his voice too sexy. I don't care if it's true. Like, that's wrong too. That's wrong too. But the middle ground is what I like. There's some people who are very respectful about that. Oh my gosh. Okay, so here's another thing I wrote down. Back in the day, and still now in some ways, because I found some channels doing this, some people still pretend to be me. So you have to imagine, like, my Twitter name is creeps_McPasta because someone got Creepypasta and they pretended to be me. Look at the tweets. They were pretending to be me, trying to be all dark and edgy. That wasn't me. There was what else did I lose? On Skype. In fact, that's a big one. On Skype, I never got my username. I never got my username on Skype. I don't know. Like, again, I just and then like on Skype you could rename yourself. So then if you when people are trying to add me, they'll be like, I'll be like, oh, search creeps for pasta, and they'll be like, oh, it's like 20 results. I'm like, okay, I'll add you. Because guess what? It's you did that with any YouTuber. You search for their name, there's always 20 results. So anyone who randomly added them could have been talking to a fake one pretending to be me or a role play account. I don't know what they were, but that's something important I feel to put out there. Oh yeah, there was messages from Chitango. Did I mention that bit? There was like messages from me from Chitango. I don't know what that is. I don't know what Chitango is. I think I only ever used Skype back in the day. Hey, so while going through the editing, I realized that in the screenshot of the Chitango profile, the it says my age according to, I think it was set in the screenshot was taken in August. The age set was 28. I'm not 28, which means that the birth date was wrong. Whether they just knew the birth date but not the year, or whether they just made it up just approximately on how old I said I was in, old Skype groups or to other people back in the day. I don't know, because if it was made more recently, they could have used famousbirthdays.com because it's all on there now. But back then, back when information was a bit more limited, I can only imagine that whoever signed up just guessed. I obviously know my birthday. There's no reason I would get it wrong on a website. So this adds to the fact that this is not me. This is an app I've never used. The date is all wrong. I don't know what other information is on there. I don't know how Chitango profiles work. If there's even more I can dig out, but I can almost confirm that it's someone else at this point. Whoever has caused these events, it's not me. And like I said, whoever is out there doing this, I fully condemn. And I really want anyone listening to this, anyone who's a fan listening now, to be more skeptical, be more skeptical. Because guess what? I'm actually not out there that much. So if you're talking to me, there's a reason why I used to get messages years ago, like back when YouTube had messages, they'll be like, oh, you come to school tomorrow? I'm like, what? I'm not in school. Yeah. Someone must have been in a school saying they were me. Like it's surprisingly not hard to do, and that's what I can't stress enough. Of like, again, I can only tell you from my perspective, but that's how it seems to me, that there is a creepypasta out there, multiple, or maybe it's one person using both me and Junior, or maybe it's these are different instances all adding together with one person who's seeking me out. I it's it's horrible to think about, and it's especially horrible to me as well, knowing that this is going on. Because what can I do? I feel like the only thing I can do is obviously project it in this video that please be more skeptical of who you talk to online. The internet isn't as safe as you think. Oh yeah, apparently I was very sexual and promiscuous, and you know, judging from my fear of intimacy, which I mentioned earlier, I'm also not very like that. Like I've never sent like this is a claim now. I will wholeheartedly say this. I've never sent a dick pic. Never. I've never been a guy that trades nudes. Even when I've been in constant long distance relationships. And that's another thing. I've been in relationships from 2012 to 2019 with only 1 year off. And that 1 year off predates outdates. What's the forward tense? It outdates everything that's like mentioned in this video. I can barely keep one person happy. I've never had an inclination to cheat. I'm a very distant person. And I know, you can even tell by my social media, I feel like I barely tweet, I barely post on Instagram, and my DMs are closed on both. Like, I don't talk to people. It's one of my weaknesses as a content creator is I'm very distant, like from fans, from other content creators. I don't have many friends. My friends, I can literally count on one hand, and even then, it's probably less fingers on this hand. I really don't actually have many people I'm close to. I struggle to uphold connections. So the fact that this was going on while I was in a relationship is just another thing that strikes me as I can't even keep up one person. Like, it's beyond me to be able to do that, if that makes sense. Some of the really egregious sexual things, like stuff I've not even done with, like, my actual what's it called, my significant others. Like I've never, you know, had a little JO sesh while on call with them. Like it's just something I don't do. And that's something I would never do, I think, because I'm very vanilla when it comes to that. I'm very vanilla. I'm very conservative as well. You can probably tell I was brought up religious and some of it has stuck with me. I'm very closed off in that aspect. Um okay, so there's more screenshots as well. There's the video. Now that's one where we're gonna have to dig into old. We're gonna have to dig into the past. We're gonna go right back now. This is an era where I sometimes still reminisce with another old narrator from back in the day of just how crazy the old Skype days were. So let's start from the beginning. I've mentioned before there was always one big narrator, and then he had his group of friends, and then other groups formed. And the only way I can liken it is just comparing it to high school, where if there's the popular kids, there's the people that go, we hate them. I don't know why. Like I don't know if that still happens now, but looking back, like that's so toxic. That's so bad. And so many groups formed of like little groups of friends, but there's always one big narrator chat. And so sometimes like people would just chip in like conversation, but then there'll be every day there was drama going on in there. You have to imagine it was a mess. Like, and this was also the Wild West. That's the way to describe it. It was the Wild West of just names. And so you have to imagine it was never always like the top narrator, then me, and then everyone else, because that's what it's been for years since the start. But there was this brief period where, I was in with the mash of hundreds. There was like literally hundreds of new narrators, like everywhere. I was on the same level as them, so you never picked and choose who you worked with a lot of the time. Like sometimes like there'll be a few friends where you're like, oh, can I use you? Can I use you? But if someone wasn't a fit, this is how we used to collaborate. You'd go in the group chat and be like, hey, I need a girl's voice. And then some girls would be like, I can do it now, I can do it now. Okay, if you could do it now, here you go, here's the lines. And then you'll sometimes even ask for specifics. I need a British accent. Oh, this person, okay, cool. I'll message them. Most people I collaborated with back then, their channel is either gone or I have no idea who they are, or like both. Like this person, oh god, my knees. This person was apparently in an old video, Pokemon Jessica, which, remember when like Pokepastas were like the biggest thing? And for a start, like fair enough, that one's sole featuring that person, but that's also one I have no memory of organizing. It was probably in the same vein of, hey, I need a voice, and then someone comes forward. And the biggest tell is this Halloween special where there's a long list of names, and there's like some people I know. I remember Mr. Creepypasta. I remember Scarecrow. There's Junior in there. Some of the others, I have no idea who they are. And like who's a Subat28? And I daren't look for the channel. It's probably gone, or if it is, it's going to be a relic. But who are these people? And yeah, let's try to look again. So yeah, no, really, I know some of the names, but not all of them. Again, that's telling to, this is the first year where nobody was big, and I was just happy to get voices on a collaboration, especially that big. You have to imagine the feeling of like doing your first big collab, but you weren't. I wasn't picky. It was just, I need this, I need that. Who wants to be in it? Oh yeah, that sounds exciting. Everyone wanted to work together, but. So let's talk about Skype real quick, because I mentioned before there were little cliques around the place. And I used to think I was okay. I was cool with a lot of people. I thought there was a few people I talked to, and I'd be very nice to them. And then I met someone else from the community years later, and like I mentioned, I like to reminisce about it. I was like, oh, do you remember this person? And he was like, yeah, they hated you. I'm like, what? Really? And I found out a lot of people who I thought I was close to used to, talk to me on face value in like the little groups I was in, and then go to the other people and then would just absolutely hate my guts. And I never got that, but that was this is the kind of people I didn't realize I was dealing with. And it's also one of the reasons I very pulled out of the community. I don't have many narrator friends. I have like two. And one of them's not even a creepypasta narrator, he's a different kind of narrator. And even then, I barely talk to them. I stay out of the horror community because I keep to myself. I'm very much reserved. But this person's first experience, I want you to know, his first experience when he was found by another narrator is like, there's a Skype group of other people like you. Do you want to come in? Yeah. So we joined in. The first thing they did was, do you want to see MCP Juniors and Creeps' real face? What? And I think he said no, but they sent it anyway in like our real names. Like, we were doxxed so badly, so early. And this is stuff like I didn't know about until later, and it was saddening because I've always tried keeping certain things to myself. One of them is like my personal identity. I used to be faceless. Now I'm not faceless, as you can tell. But I've always tried keeping my name to myself, and that was a sad to realize like that was also out there. So that also would explain why it's easy to replicate that side of things too, because people were finding my personal Facebook and personal pages, and it's not hard to recreate. It's not hard to make that again and just go, yeah, this is so and so. And it's even more damning because it looks more personal. Like, yeah, you can fake being Creepypasta, but can you fake being the real him? And the answer is, goddamn, yes. Yes, you can. Oh, God. I'm hoping, in the end of the day, to delete this video in a week. I hope that once things settle, that to just remove this video. Like, it was one of my regrets of the break-in the end is when you search for my name, that comes up as the most searched thing because that was the juicy thing to search. That's what people wanted to know about. And I know how much drama sticks with you because now that's part of my identity. I don't want it now. I don't want that on me. I'm hoping, like, I already feel like the core base of this channel now is probably gutted because now there's a big pool of people and now I have to pick sides. That's another saddening part. But all I can do on my behalf is just carry on. I'm probably just going to keep going the best I can. And to wrap things up, the messages aren't me. These actions, they're not me. I condemn, hopefully, if there is a way to find them, which the problem is, it looks like with how little the presentation of things were. I hope that whoever is doing it is either caught or just stops doing it because of, hopefully this video projects that, there's probably don't just stay away from online like creepypastas that just say on text that they're me, because in all likelihood it probably isn't me. And all these actions that are described, not me. It's fervently, I wholeheartedly cannot say this enough, it's not me. So, some closing thoughts to tack onto the end, because there's some things that keep coming forward. The more I look back, the more while working on this whole response video, is that at first I looked at the channel that made the video and I'm thinking, oh, it's a drama channel. It just wants a story, no matter what. But the more I looked into it, the more I realized that this channel seems to be based around giving victims a voice. And as hard as it is for me in this situation to admit, I can't help but respect that in a deep way. And that it's a good idea. It really is a good idea, and that's what's making me more believe the person who is talking in the video. I don't think someone would have so many stories like that, and for it to not be, for it to be made up. It's just too far-fetched for me. But on the other hand, it still is fervently not me. Like, I've shown many times over the discrepancies between her interactions with someone and that someone not being me. And this just adds all the more to my conclusion, which, I don't want a witch hunt. I don't want any kind of backlash. I want, my hope is just to have support all around, support for everyone. And that's my wish. That's the base conclusion I feel I can come to through all this.